Why, yes, it is my birthday. Welcome to A Change of Heart podcast. I'm your host, Angel Walston. And in this space, we navigate life together. We ask the hard questions like, what is the truth you haven't told? But most importantly, we grow together. And sometimes that leads to a change of heart. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of A Change of Heart podcast. As you can tell by today's title, it is my birthday, although today is actually not my birthday. By the time this airs, my birthday will have actually passed. It's on the 3rd, and we will have celebrated. There'll be a little giveaway and all of that jazz, but I wanted to do just a little lessons of life as I'm celebrating my Jesus year. I am 33 and I'm at the point where I'm pushing 40 and I'm not mad at it. Like there was a point in time where 40 just seemed, first of all, so far away, not that far away anymore. And I was like, whew, I feel like I'm gonna feel old. I am genuinely looking forward to hitting 40 and just being somebody's fine auntie. So I wanted to do things a little bit differently today. Instead of doing a question of the day, I decided I wanted to do a little would you rather game. So question number 1, would you rather have 10 hobbies or 1 passion? I want to say 10 hobbies, but I feel like you can have a whole lot of things that you do or that you like or that you're good at, but you don't actually do anything with them. So I'm going to go for 1 passion. Would you rather be forced to sing along or dance to every single song you hear? I would rather be forced to sing along. I am not a dancer, okay? I have never act like I was anybody's twerk champion by any means. So I would definitely go for a sing along. Would you rather have everyone you know be able to read your thoughts or for everyone you know to have access to your internet history? This is very easy for me. You can check my internet history. I don't care. I have some things I probably would need to explain, but it's not anything that I would be embarrassed about. And with the explanation, be like, oh, okay, I am judging you less now. These thoughts that I have, however, y'all do not need to be privy to that. Would you rather get a paper cut every time you turn a page or bite your tongue every time you eat? I think I would rather bite my tongue because, I don't know, I just think about it in the sense of when you bite your tongue, like the pain of that is not a long lasting thing. Whereas a paper cut, every time you put hand sanitizer on it, it's going to burn. And so I would go with bite your tongue just because I think the pain of it is not going to last as long. Would you rather be able to teleport anywhere or be able to read minds? I don't want y'all reading my thoughts. I don't want to read y'all thoughts, okay? I would rather teleport anywhere. Would you rather never lose your phone again or never lose your keys again? I would say never lose my keys again because I can lose my phone and still leave and go on about my day and we can just look for it later, but I need my keys. Would you rather have chapped lips that never heal or terrible dandruff that can't be treated? Ooh, I have to go with terrible dandruff because I'm very big about like chapstick, lip gloss, all of that. And I could not fathom like how I hate that chapped lip feeling. If I got bad dandruff, I can just buy a wig. Would you rather have everything on your phone right now, browsing history, photos, etc., made public to anyone who searches your name or never use a cell phone again? I mean, would I want it public? Probably not. But if it were to be public, there's literally nothing on there that would be damaging to like who I am or that I think would be outside of my character. So y'all can see it. Judge your mama, okay? Would you rather be constantly tired no matter how much you sleep or constantly hungry no matter how much you eat? Listen, I feel like this constantly tired no matter how much I sleep is my current life. And so I would go with constantly hungry no matter how much you eat. Because I'm a snacker anyway. So it's like I would just snack all day. I'm kind of okay with that. Yeah. Last one, would you rather live a comfortable and peaceful life in the woods in a small cabin without much human interaction or a life full of conflict and entertainment in a mansion in a city? Listen, if y'all know me, if you've been listening to this, if you are close to me, if you know me in any capacity, you know that the first one, living a comfortable, peaceful life in the woods in a small cabin without much human interaction, that is a dream. That literally sounds amazing to me. I would choose that in a heartbeat. Like, don't come visit me. I don't have cell phone service. Perfect. Yes. So take a moment. I'll make sure to post the would you rather questions in my stories on Instagram at Angel C. Walston, and I'll post it in the comment section as well. So for those of you who watch it on my YouTube channel, you can put your answer in the comment section there and let me know what you would choose for the would you rather game. All right. So your girl is 33. As I said earlier, it is my Jesus year. And I'm very excited about starting this new year. I always look at like birthdays as being a new start, a restart, more so than I do the beginning of a new year. I never make New Year's resolutions because I don't associate like a new year as starting January 1st. I associate a new year starting for my birthday. And so as I'm thinking about going into 33, there are a ton of things that I am looking forward to. There are a ton of things that I want to work on, improve on, but there's also a ton of things that I've learned. And so I want to share with you all some of my lessons from life over the course of the last 33 years. And I thought about doing 33 lessons and I was like, girl, let's not. Let's do 10 and call it a day because that's a whole lot. So I want to go over 10 lessons of things that I feel like I've learned in my 33 years of life here on earth. It is ghetto. 0 out of 5 would recommend. So there's that. We'll start there. But in hopes, I want to share these things in hopes that you all will be able to find something that may be a little takeaway from you that may help you as you are growing and learning and evolving and becoming whole, healed, and authentic. So the first lesson of life for me is don't sweat the small stuff. And it is legit all small stuff. When you think about it in the grand scheme of things, literally every single thing that I can ever remember being worried about, every single thing that I didn't know how it was going to come together, how it would be fixed, how all of these different things, I got over it. It worked out somehow. Everything came together in some form or fashion, whether it's the way that I wanted it to, the way that I thought that it would. Ultimately, it came together. It worked itself out. So it's really just reminded me to not sweat the small stuff. And in the grand scheme of life, in the grand scheme of things, big picture, it's all small stuff. I can think about things that I was really worried about decades ago that literally to this day, at this moment, does not matter. I spoke before, I forget which episode it was, but I talked about having my issue with my fibroadenomas. And I remember when I had my first surgery for it, I was so upset because of the scarring of it. And I remember I would cry about that. And I was so worried about it. Do y'all know I literally could not care less about the fact that I even still have a scar today as a result of it? Like, I remember just feeling so self-conscious about it then. I remember really just being in my head, as I'm very well known for, and just being so concerned about what it was going to look like. And I'm like, girl, all them tears we cried. And you don't even care now. I think about relationships that ended that, Lord, I thought life was over. How am I going to make it without this man in my life? And look at me making it, thriving, surviving. Look at it. Like, get into it. So I share that because it really, one of the biggest lessons for me definitely has been recognizing that it's all small stuff. In the big picture of things, it's all small stuff. Everything always works itself out. So don't allow yourself to get caught up in the things that don't really matter. And do I have my times where I still stress out about things? I still get worried about things. I get concerned about things. Absolutely. I would be sitting here lying if I said otherwise. But that has definitely been one of the big lessons, is that in the grand scheme of things, it's all small stuff. It always works itself out. It always comes together. It will always be okay. You will always be okay, Angel. You will always be fine, girlfriend. The second lesson from life is that you have to give yourself permission to dream. And as I was thinking about this one, when I was thinking about it, I realized like how near and dear this is to my heart, because what I've realized is, let me talk to those of you who are creatives, those of you who are dreamers, women after my own heart. I realized that typically people in that mindset of creatives, dreamers, all of that, not everyone gets us, which is perfectly okay, but it's also a space that can feel it can feel very misunderstood at times, and you have all of these things that you want to do, and it can seem like you're just so far off from actually being able to achieve them. They seem unattainable at times. It can feel very overwhelming at times. You can feel like you're in over your head, but you have to give yourself permission to dream. And I wish I would have reminded, not because can't even say reminded myself, I wish I would have realized this like a solid 15 years ago, prior to me going to college. Because real talk, not saying it's a regret, because I literally feel like I went to college to meet my two best friends and to get saved. Like those are literally the reasons for me going to college. If I had to do it all over again, I don't know if I would go to college, y'all. And I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying education is not important. That is not what I'm saying, not whatsoever. But I'm realizing more and more and more as I'm giving myself permission to dream, as I'm giving myself permission to really walk fully and boldly in the things that I am most passionate about. I did not need the degree that I got for it, okay? And so I share that because I think a lot of times when we are dreamers, when we are creatives, when we have all of these different passions and these things that we want to do that are not conventional, a lot of times we run into two roadblocks. The first roadblock is our mindset, and the second roadblock are the people around us who we value their opinion, who don't get it. And so on one hand, you have your mindset that sets up as a boundary in a sense, because if y'all have not read the book Big Leap, which I'm still reading, so I can't say I read it, but he talks about, Gay Hendricks is the author, and he talks about the upper limit problem. And pretty much what it is that you get to a place where your mind says, okay, this is what I can do. This is what I can achieve. This is how successful I can be. And when you start to get closer to that, whatever your limit is, to the extent that you could potentially go beyond that and go beyond what you believed you were capable of doing, you self-sabotage. And a lot of times when it comes to our mindsets and giving ourselves permission to dream, we tell ourselves it's too big. We tell ourselves you're thinking way too far ahead. You don't have the resources. You don't have this. And so you start talking yourself out of it. Then you have people who tell you you need to get a real job, or you need to focus on the real life things. And not to say that that's not important, but a lot of times when we are in our space where we're able to just create, when we're in our space where we're able to dream, when we're in our space where we're able to really serve people in the capacity that really fuels our passion, that gets us going, not everyone understands that. And we allow imposter syndrome to come in and tell us that, girl, what are you doing? Who told you you should be doing this? You're not even that smart. Like, you're not even that gifted. You're not qualified for this. And we allow all of these different things to come in and to kill the dream, essentially. And so one of the biggest lessons for me has really been giving myself permission to dream, and to dream big, because there's some things that I am working on that I am very excited to share with you all sooner rather than later, somewhat. But a lot of times I feel like for myself personally, I've just given myself permission to really dream over the last year, if that. And I'm at a place now where, listen, year 33 is personal for me. And I really want to walk in all the things that God has for me. And in order for me to do that, there are some things that I need to do to get out of my own way. And I am committed to the process of giving myself permission to dream fully, to dream big, to dream without a cap, without a limit, and to be able to really just walk in it without concern. And it's scary, I ain't even gonna hold you, but giving yourself permission to dream, it brings about this freedom that literally, I feel like it just unlocks so much on the inside of you creatively. It unlocks so much on the inside of you confidence wise. And so that has definitely been like one of the lessons that I'm like, yes, that has been a lesson that I am taking with me to continue to take the limits off of myself. The next thing is accepting that I am dope, and knowing that does not make me conceited. And let me give this disclaimer, because I will say this. One of the things that I consistently pray, and I genuinely am saying this, God can hold me to it. I'm not just saying this for a flex or for likes or anything like that by any means. One of the things that I always pray is, God, keep me humble before your sight. Like, that has always been my prayer. That will continuously be my prayer, because I know what's on the other side of not being humble. With that being said, I also know that as a result of me wanting to be humble, I spent a lot of time minimizing, shrinking, and not really standing or even acknowledging the fullness of all of who I am, because I didn't want it to come across as prideful. I did not want it to come across as, oh, she full of herself. I grew up with a lot of people, like grade school, feeling like I was stuck up, that I was full of myself, that I was cocky, I was conceited, when that was never the case. But as a result of that, I've realized that I spend a lot of time trying to hide, trying to be in the background, trying to shrink, trying to minimize, because one, I don't like attention in any form or fashion, but I also realize that I have been doing a disservice to myself. And so this is the PSA, that we shall no longer be doing a disservice to ourselves, but also accepting that me taking the time to acknowledge who I am, what I have done, what I have accomplished, what we're getting ready to do. That does not make me prideful to acknowledge that. It doesn't mean that I lack humility to acknowledge, like, I'm awesome. I'm an amazing person. There's nothing wrong with me saying that. It does not make me conceited in saying that. I feel like a lot of times society has a tendency of building you up, but once you get confident and once you get very secure and comfortable in yourself, it's like, oh, you're doing too much. No, 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 no. Absolutely not. Is there a line that we can cross for real that goes into pride? Absolutely. Check yourself. Have people who can check you in that. But I think it's just really important for you to take a moment to really just sit and acknowledge, like, I'm dope. I am actually like really dope. And because I believe that, because I know that, that does not make me conceited in any form or fashion. And I can say that confidently because I know that people who know me, no one who knows me well will be like, oh, Angel is not humble. Angel is super like full of herself. Nobody who knows me would say that. If outside people want to think that, that's their prerogative. Like, I can't be concerned or worried about what other people think, but I've done a disservice to myself by playing small. I've done a disservice to myself by trying to make other people feel comfortable or make other people feel as though I don't want them to look at me or view me in this way. But I know who I am, and if what people think of me is in contrast of what I know to be true about who I am, I'm not going to fight people to get them to see, like, oh, this is who I am. You either see it or you don't. And I'm okay with that. There was a point in time where I really cared about what people thought. That ship sank a long time ago. And that has also been a lesson, as well as being able to free myself of people's perception. People gonna say what they want to. People gonna think what they want to. And guess what? That's their business. But it's also my business to know who I am. And let me also say this, y'all. When I say that my prayer is, God, keep me humble before your sight, he holds up to that bargain. I lie to you not. 2-3 weeks ago, couple weeks ago, I'm literally on my hands and knees, cutting and scooping poop, doo-doo, out my mom's dog's butt because it got stuck to his butt. Okay? The Lord keeps me humble. Trust and believe that. All right. The next thing is one of the best lessons that I have recently really set in and have accepted is that it is absolutely okay to be sad without a reason. It is absolutely okay to have a moment where you just need to cry and you don't have words for why you're crying. You feel like there's no reason for it. It is absolutely okay. Full disclosure, this week I have just been sad. I have been in a funk. I have not been feeling it. And nothing in particular is wrong. It has nothing to do with my birthday or anything like that. But this week I have just not been feeling it. I have cried. I have had my moments where it's like, I just want to lay in bed. I don't want to do anything. I'm just sad. And there's nothing in particular that is making me sad, or at least that I am aware of at the moment, but I'm just sad. And it's like that sometimes. And the reason why I share that is because I am the type of person, I'm not a crier. I'm not a big crier. I don't like crying. And I've had to go through the process of giving myself permission to feel. And there have been a lot of times where I would find myself crying and it's like, Angel, you don't even have anything to cry about. Like you don't even have a reason to cry about. Or you don't have a reason to cry about something. Or I'll feel myself getting ready to cry and it's like, we can't cry right now. Girl, let it out. Let it out, sis. Because what we have to understand, and I'm not saying that this is necessarily, or I don't know if this is necessarily my thing, but a lot of times we carry a lot of baggage that we may not even realize that we have not yet unpacked. And for some people, that baggage is trauma. And so we could have had something that was a day ago, a week ago, months ago, years ago, that we never took the time to actually process, that we never took the time to actually go through or talk about it. And that stuff sits in your body. And sometimes you crying, you may not feel like at the moment you have a reason to cry. It very well could be trauma coming up from a month ago, from years ago. And you just got to let it purge itself. You have to let it come out without judgment of it. And that's something that I'm really continuing to learn, that when I cry or when I feel myself going to cry, it's like, Angel, just let it out. It's okay. Let it go, girl. Set them free. Set the ocean free. But being able to really just allow myself the freedom to cry without a reason, to be sad without a reason, and to give myself the permission to say, hey, it's okay if you don't have words for it right now, but you don't have to stifle it and you don't have to explain it away. Let it happen. It's coming up for a reason and it needs to get out. So let it breathe, let it cry, let it do what it need to do, because it's better for you to get it out versus you still holding on to it, because you're just going to wrestle with that thing. And I have spent way too long wrestling with emotions because I didn't want to cry. Girl, cry. Set them things free. I was trying to decide where I wanted to put this in here because like I don't want it to be the first thing that people hear and I don't want it to be the last thing. So we're just gonna slide this thing right here up in the middle. So I have a couple of, don't even want to call them disclaimers per se, but just some prefaces. So this particular lesson, I feel like it's kind of two lessons in one. So the first part of the lesson is that I have to accept and be willing to acknowledge that it's okay for me to change my mind. Okay, that's the first part of it. Now, before we jump into the second part of it and why that has been a lesson for me, I have some prefaces for it. So I realized that over the years, there's been something in particular that I can't even say that I've wrestled with because it's never been a fight. It's never been a wrestling situation, but something that I have very consciously chosen to not talk about publicly, for the simple fact that I know that there is very much so a stigma associated with it. I'm also very aware that there's a very negative connotation, specifically for women, that comes with this mindset. And I wouldn't necessarily call it a mindset, I'll say choice. And I'm also aware that for myself specifically, I didn't want to say something that could potentially be so matter of fact, because I recognize that it is very much so a deal breaker for a lot of people. And I didn't want to say something that's so matter of fact and then potentially change my mind. And so with all of that being said, one of the things that I don't know if you would call it a lesson, but something that I am definitely starting to sit in a lot more is the reality that I do not want children. And I can't even say that this is something I've really like gone back and forth on. It's something that has been pretty consistent for me. And the reason why I say that I've been reluctant to talk about it publicly is because I do realize that I never want to, like I said earlier, I never want to say something that is so matter of fact of a statement like I don't want children and then potentially go back and change my mind, because it's like, well, you said this is out there now, but I can say it now and I can also change my mind if necessary, because that's my business. Obviously, I should figure that out before like marriage and things like that. But that is something that I am definitely starting to really like sit more in and really be like, I 100% believe that I could have a very fulfilled life and never have children. And I will say that I do have a desire to be married. And I used to say that if I were to get married and my husband wanted a child, like having a child would be a compromise for me. And I don't know, I'm not fully sold on that at this point, to be fully honest. And I am allowing myself, giving myself permission to change my mind on that, not in a marriage. Like I would not tell somebody I don't want to have kids and then get married. It was like, actually, I've changed my mind. Like, obviously, I would want that solidified beforehand. But my prayer for that has been, God, if it is for me to have children, like if that is a part of your will for my life, change my heart towards it. And I'm open to allowing God to change my heart if that is his will for my life. And if that is not a part of what my legacy will be, what my life is meant to be, then solidify that like fully for me so that I can make sure that as I'm like, pursuing marriage, that that's something that I'm very solid on. And so that is definitely something that I don't want to say coming to terms with, because like I said earlier, it wasn't something I was wrestling with. If you talk to any of my friends, like all of my friends have talked about, wanting families, wanting to be mothers, and they will always tell you, we've never had that conversation when it comes to me. Like they've never heard me say like, oh yeah, I could see myself as someone's mom. And I will say this, there's no like fear associated with whether or not I would be a good mom. I'd be a great mom. I know that for a fact. It's not even a fear of like the labor process and all of that, because I think about the fact that people like choose to have more than one child. So I feel like for people who have multiple children and it was by choice, like not an accident, like you chose to have another kid after you gave labor. I'm not saying it can't be that bad, but it can't be that bad for you to choose to do it all over again. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But it's not like a fear that's rooted in any of those things. I just think about like I never had that desire. And that is honestly a strong part of the reason as to why I don't do a lot of videos talking about singleness or any of that anymore, because I recognize that because I have this over here for myself, that when it comes to talking to women who are single, who are wrestling in a sense with their singleness because they're getting older and they want to be mothers, recognizing that for those people, I can understand the challenge of wanting to be married, wanting to wait on God, but also feeling like you're reaching a certain age where if you want to have kids, it's getting more and more high risk. And I recognize for myself, because I don't have the desire for motherhood, that as a result of that, I don't have a biological clock that's ticking. So I don't have this urge of like, oh, I got to get married soon because I'm pushing 40. And I was not even like jokingly saying to two of my friends here recently, but I said I could totally see myself traveling, living my best life, doing all the things that I want to do. And then at like 55, 60, like, all right, let's go ahead and get married. Like, let's go ahead and settle down. I could see myself doing that for real because I don't have that strong desire for motherhood. And so as a result of that, I'm not looking to marriage to be what would lead me to motherhood. So whether it happens now or whether it happens 20 years from now doesn't really make a difference to me. And so I share all of this to say, we're going somewhere with this. I don't do a lot of videos anymore talking about singleness, relationships, and things like that. More so for singleness in the sense of waiting, how to be content in your singleness, because I do recognize that when it comes to, truthfully, even my perspective with dating, marriage, and all of that, I recognize that my desire is very minimal in comparison to a lot of women who that's something that's very important for them. And I truthfully feel like I would do a disservice to you all to tell you to be content and do this and do that, knowing that where I am in that space in my life is very disconnected from things that other people really desire and really want. I hope that makes sense. So yes, so I share all of that to say, the lesson is giving myself permission and acknowledging that I have the ability to change my mind, and that's perfectly fine. If I get married and show up pregnant, we can revisit this conversation. But at the current moment, it's not something that is a desire for me. and it's not something that I see for myself. But at the end of the day, God has fully the last say, the only say, to be honest. And I do want to make sure that I don't allow what I want or what I think I want even to trump what God has for me. And I also have a niece. There was a point in time where when I was starting to like really get a little more solidified in the idea of not having children, where my concern was, well, who's going to take care of me when I'm old and like dying? Like, I don't want to be in that position and like have no one around. But I have a niece now. She'll take care of me. She'll take care of me and her mama. It's a lot of pressure, but she would take care of her TT. All right, moving on. The next lesson is having spaces to just be you. It is necessary, it is important, it is not optional. Like, it is a necessity, it is essential in your life. And I was reminded of this a couple of weeks ago. Me and two of my friends from college, we went on our first girls trip, which I'm like, ladies, why is this the first one? We've been friends since 2009, I think. And this is literally our first trip with all three of us together. And I I came back from that trip just being so grateful and reminded of how necessary it is for me specifically to have spaces where I just get to be me. I ain't wear no makeup that whole weekend. I didn't have to preach to nobody that whole weekend. I didn't have to give nobody advice that whole weekend. I knew that there wasn't an expectation of me to be anything other than Angel. And I appreciate those spaces because I have a lot of spaces where I'm very aware that there is an expectation of me. I'm very aware that there are people who look to me for advice. There are people who look to me for encouragement. There are people who look up to me in different ways, and I'm grateful for that. Like, I've chosen this, I've put myself in this position to be that for people, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm not complaining about it. I don't want it to come across like that, none whatsoever. However, with that being said, I also have to make note of the fact that although I have chosen this for myself and I'm very grateful, there's also the reality, embracing the and, not just the or. There's also the reality that as a result of me being a leader, as a result of me being Angel, founder of Change Hearts, as a result of me being Minister Angel, as a result of me being Angel, podcast host, as a result of me being Angel, YouTuber, as a result of me being Angel, the leader, as a result of me being all of these different things, I don't always get the spaces where I'm just Angel. No title, no platform, no nothing. It's just no nothing. That is bad grammar. No anything. I just get to be me. And I'm very grateful for the friendships that I've had for decades plus. All of them met me before I was saved, when I was out there wilding out, okay? And so as a result of that, they're very supportive of what I'm doing now, of course, but they do see me in a different light than people who came to know me through Change Hearts, because you know me as someone who is an encourager. You know me as someone who's a Christian. You know me as someone who is essentially a leader in this space. And as a result of that, there is this expectation that is there. There is this platform that's given, whether or not that's what I want to acknowledge it as or not. It's very much so something that is a fact, right? And as a result of that, I know that in a lot of the spaces that I am in, I recognize that I have to show up differently than I do in the spaces with my friendships who have known me for years and years and years, because I just get to be me. And let me say this, I'll always, have conversations with my friends and give them advice as well. I'm not saying that because we're friends, you don't get, encouragement or advice by any means. Like, we have those conversations as well too, but it's a different kind of space to be in. And I can't stress enough how important it is to have a space and to have people in your life where you just get to be you. There's no expectation of you. You don't have to perform. You don't have to put on. You don't have to entertain. You don't have to be anything but you. And I so desperately need that. And I need it more frequently than I actually get it, to be honest. And that's on me, because I'm always busy. I'm always doing a whole lot. But it's so necessary and so important to have those spaces where you just get to be you. And I can't stress that enough. And this goes for whether you are a leader or whatever. Have spaces where you just get to be you. Where you ain't gotta wear no makeup, you ain't gotta wear no wig if you don't want to. You can let your hair down, you can put your feet up, where you can just be you without any expectations. Is so necessary. My next lesson is recognizing that there is more to life than working, money, relationships, all the stuff that society tells you is like so important that you need. There is so much more to a fulfilled life. Let me say that. There's so much more to a fulfilled life beyond going to work every day. Whether you work a 9 to 5 or you're an entrepreneur, there's so much more to it. There's so much more than making money. You can make good money and still be miserable, be frustrated, be all of these different things. There's so much more to it. I am going to pause here because for those of you who are watching and maybe even listening, I don't know if you can tell, I thought I would be able to get through this without having to give this disclaimer, but I am feeling it in my body that I am not going to be able to get through this. Allergy season is kicking my tail. Do you hear me? I am like really struggling with allergy season, and the medicine I took did not fully do what I needed it to do. So I took another allergy pill, like a different one, and it has made me very drowsy. And so I felt like as I was talking, I felt like my eyes were getting like heavier and heavier and heavier. And I was like, they're probably like, what is happening here? Maybe didn't even notice it. But if my energy starts to go down, that is what is happening. Don't be alarmed. All is well. I just feel real tired all of a sudden. So it is just like starting to hit me. So wanted to give that disclaimer because I literally could feel my eyes getting lower and lower. So going back to what I was saying, it does not matter in the sense of working, money, relationships, all of those things. At the end of the day, there's so much more to it. And I've realized that what is really important to me is being at peace. Like more than anything these days, I realize how much I value my peace and how much I value the space to be able to really just be at peace. Like that is priceless. And to be completely honest, a lot of people, my friends and everyone have been asking me, what do you want to do for your birthday? What do you want to do for your birthday? And I realized I really want to be by myself. And a part of me felt guilty for it. But then I realized like there's so many spaces where I am surrounded by people. There's so many spaces where I have to show up, where I have to be present, where I have to be, where I have to do all of these different things. And I realized I don't always get the time to just be by myself. And when I do get to be by myself, that's when I feel the most at peace. That's when I feel the most at ease. And I would just say life has a way of showing you that you can have and get everything that you think that you want and still not be fulfilled, still not be at peace. There's so much more to life that is fulfilling than the things that we have been taught or conditioned to believe will actually fulfill us. There's so much more to it. So that has definitely been a very helpful lesson for me because I feel like I was able to grasp that earlier on to an extent and to recognize that chasing after these things will never fulfill me. It's always going to be an inner thing that I have to work out and work through because the outside factors, at the end of the day, they really don't matter. Right. Next thing, and I was going to give this disclaimer, but I think it'll make sense. So I'm just going to say it. Following the rules does not always matter. Let me give some context to this. I am a rule follower to the T, okay? I follow the rules. That is something that I have always been. I am the good girl, the goody two shoes to an extent. But what I have realized over the years is that there are people who aren't rule followers, who don't follow the rules, who do whatever they want to. And guess what? They win. They get by. They still pass the test. They still do whatever that I'm over here trying to follow the rules and do it right. And so something that I've had to accept is that Following the rules does not always matter. It does not mean that because you did everything right, that you deserve to be blessed. It does not mean that because you did everything right, everything's going to work out in your favor. It does not mean that because you follow the rules, that it will only work out for you or for those of us who follow the rules. And I've accepted that because I've seen time and time and time and time and time and time and time again people who don't follow the rules and they still come out on top. And there was a point in time where truthfully, I felt myself getting really frustrated with that because it's like, I'm over here trying to do the right thing. I'm over here trying to do it the right way. And these people over here, they're skipping all the steps and we're getting the same outcome. Make it make sense, somebody. And what I have had to accept is, Angel, this is always going to be the case. The people who don't follow the rules, some of them are still going to win. They're still going to get the outcome that you got. They are going to have things work out in their favor, even if they don't do what they're supposed to. They won't have consequences all the time. But at the end of the day, I had to ask myself, because full disclosure, I had a conversation probably with myself. I'm pretty sure it was one of the times I was in my conversation. One of the times I was in my car having full-blown conversation with myself about feeling frustrated about how it felt like everybody else could go back on their word. Everybody else could choose to not show up. Everybody else could choose to skip the steps and make it. But I feel convicted to do so. I feel bad about it. I feel guilty if I don't follow the rules, if I don't do it the right way. And I've had to accept that we have a choice in that. We can choose to also not follow the rules. We can choose to skip the steps. We can choose to do what we see other people doing and still getting the outcome that we ultimately want. Or we can continue doing it as we are, recognizing that my character is more important to me than skipping the steps to get an outcome that I may or may not get. It worked for some people, it might not work for me. And I really had to accept, and not accept, but acknowledge that my character is more important to me. And I don't want to be known for the person who skipped the steps but still got it done. I don't want to be known for the person who let people down but showed up last minute. I don't want to be known as the person who, who didn't follow the rules. Like, I don't want to be known for that. And so I've had to release this frustration and this feeling, light bulb moment. I've had to release the entitlement of feeling like I deserve because I do the right things, and really having to sit and accept the fact that the people who do the wrong things sometimes still come out on top. But I have to choose for myself that I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to do it God's way, even if it may take me longer, even if it may look crazy along the way, because at the end of the day, we're called to be set apart. As children of God, we're called to be set apart. So I shouldn't look like other people. Even if they're getting the same outcome as me, I shouldn't look like them to get there. And so that has been something that is still a challenge for me at times as someone who follows the rules. It is still frustrating when you see people who aren't rule followers to get what they want or to have things work out, whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, it really is confronting that entitlement, that entitled spirit of feeling, because I do the right things, I deserve this, this should happen. And it's like, no, not necessarily. But because of who I am in God, I want to make sure that my lifestyle reflects Him. I want to make sure that my life honors Him. And I want to make sure that even in the midst of what everybody else is doing, I don't look like them. I don't do what they do. I do as God does. And so that has definitely been a lesson in itself that is a constant repeat that I have to remind myself of. All right, we're almost done here, guys, because I feel like I'm going down real fast. Last one. The best lesson of them all is that I get to be me. And the reason why that has been a great lesson is because I don't have to be someone else. I get to be me. And I feel like for a very short period of time, there was a moment where I was trying to be like certain other women in what it was that I was doing or trying to become. And I felt myself not losing myself per se, but becoming something that I was not. So I guess you could say losing myself. But when it's all said and done, God created me to be me. And in that reminder alone, I get to be me. I don't get to be like someone else because who I am is enough. I don't get to be like Michelle Obama, phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say anything negative, not whatsoever, but who I am is phenomenal in its own rights as well. And it's so important for us to realize that, because a lot of times we lose our authenticity trying to be somebody else because we see what they're doing and it appears to work for them and we just want something to work. But it's something about being in your own lane and being authentic to who God created you to be that you're able to see, oh, it works in this lane too, because I'm being me. I'm being who I was always called and created to be. And so as I talk about this whole idea of being whole, being healed, and being authentic, that is all a part of me getting to be me. And especially the authenticity part of it, because I've struggled with insecurities in a lot of different ways. There was a very long time where I struggled with my body. I'm very thin. And as a Black woman, I'm not someone who is super curvy. We not real body, over here. However, listen, booty been lifted, okay? But in all seriousness, that has been something that has been a great struggle for me in regards to my body, of feeling very thin and having people constantly comment on how tiny I am, which is very rude, but that's a different podcast. I tend to be very self-critical and I don't always give myself the grace to make mistakes, to start over, to really acknowledge like, oh, we really love this part of ourselves. And so that is something for year 33 specifically that I am committing to, is to not be self-critical, don't be as self-critical, to not be self-critical, and to really emphasize the things that I really like about myself, the things that I really love about myself without picking it apart. I'm working on accepting compliments, which still makes me cringe a little bit. I just don't know what to do or say when people give me compliments. It just makes me feel super uncomfortable. I feel very awkward. It's like, what do I do with my hands? I don't know how to respond. Thank you. Like, it just makes me feel super uncomfortable. And I also have a very bad habit of saying thank you, but whatever it is that they're complimenting me on, criticizing it. Can we not do that in year 33? And by we, I guess I'm talking to me. Can we not do that, Angel? So that is something that I am really wanting to grace myself in more this year, is before I am quick to critique, take a moment to be like, girl, you get to be you. Okay, you get to be you. That is an honor. That is a privilege, my dear. And I really want to just continue to remind myself of that. But this year, Jesus year 33, specifically, I really want to take the time and a moment to really just sit in that and really allow myself just to take the moment to be like, girl, you know how dope it is that you get to be you? You know, and really just embrace that and really love that. So yeah, guys, we made it to the end. I feel like it's a little bit of a struggle, but we made it. We got here. I hope that this has been something that has been helpful to you all. I hope you all have an amazing week. And until next time, be whole, be healed, and be authentic.
Thank you so much for tuning into A Change of Heart podcast. I hope you were encouraged, and please take a moment to share with a girlfriend, and don't forget to download the episode. Lastly, I would love to connect with you. You can follow me on Instagram at Angel C. Walston and at A Change of Heart podcast. Have an amazing week, and don't forget, be whole, be healed, and be authentic.